It's been the same tactics used by the Russian agencies since the beginning of the full-scale invasion to conduct sabotage activities or subversive activities, which apparently are low-key and cause no casualties, but nevertheless prompts a very costly response. And that means that even if there are no casualties, but nevertheless European agencies, British agencies would need to allocate more resources to deal with this new direction of attack.
So why has it been so hard to stop the boats? And is it partly because Russia is helping the gangs? The Times is reporting this morning that Russia and some hard-left humanitarian groups are working with smugglers to try to flood Europe with illegal migrants. We can speak now to the Times Home Affairs editor, Matt Dathan. Morning, Matt.
Good morning.
So what is the allegation here? What is it that's being said to be happening?
Well, it's not just an allegation, but Daniel Mitov, the Interior Minister in Bulgaria, their equivalent of the Home Secretary, says they have evidence that the Russian intelligence service the Foreign Intelligence Service is working in conjunction with people smugglers, identifying weak spots in the physical border with the Schengen area. And with Bulgaria, that's incredibly important because they this year joined Schengen. So that means that they are the EU's new external border with Turkey, where a lot of the migration comes across. And they said that they have intelligence that the Russian spies are not only communicating to identify weak spots in that border, but also feeding intelligence, feeding information and educating migrants on how to behave once they are in the EU, how to claim asylum, how to make sure that they don't get deported or removed, and therefore destabilising EU countries, including the UK.
And some NGOs are said to be potentially accomplices in this as well.
Yeah, Mitov said that they have, the vast majority of NGOs are working, to obviously help refugees and not working against people smugglers, not work against governments. There are a small minority of NGOs, and we named two of them, Mission Wings and No Name Kitchen, which they have found to be working also in conjunction with the smugglers, because they are trying to help refugees cross the border into the EU. And he said inadvertently they are therefore helping Russia helping Russia's goals to destabilise EU countries in doing so. Matt, and there's actually an ongoing trial at the moment that he couldn't talk for too much about, but about two teenagers, including one British individual who is accused of helping people smugglers.
Gosh, Matt, thank you very much. Sorry to jump in there. That's Matt Dathan, Home Affairs editor of The Times. His story's on the front page as well. Well, let's bring in Andrei Soldatov, a Russian investigative journalist and co-author of the book Our Dear Friends in Moscow. Andrei, good morning.
Morning.
What is the Russian motive here?
Well, it's been the same tactics used by the Russian agencies since the beginning of the full-scale invasion to conduct sabotage activities or subversive activities, which apparently are low-key and cause no casualties, but nevertheless prompts a very costly response. And that means that even if there are no casualties, but nevertheless European agencies, British agencies would need to allocate more resources to deal with this new direction of attack.
When we say destabilising strategy, what do we mean? What is the end goal for Russia? How does this advance Russia's aims?
Well, the message has been always the same. If you keep supporting Ukraine in this war, it would cost you dearly. You would need to allocate more people, more armed personnel, more police forces to tackle the problem. And it's just about money, which is not cheap.
In what ways are migration flows weaponised, I suppose, as part of a broader state strategy, though? Are there precedents, for example, or other regions that we can learn from where migration is a part of that overall strategic objective?
Yes, Russia tried at least twice these tactics before. Once it was on the border with Norway, when all of a sudden huge groups of migrants started crossing borders from the Russian side into Norway, and the Norwegians needed to allocate more resources to deal with the problem. And next time it was on the border between Poland and Belarus. And again, Russian agencies helped to fly lots of migrants from Iraq, as far as I remember, to Minsk, the capital of Belarus. And after that, there was a huge crisis on the border, and the Polish authorities needed to build new fences, to allocate more people. And it's still a problem, by the way.
With Bulgaria's accession into the Schengen area, that is said to be now a particularly sort of exposed or weak point, the Bulgaria-Turkey border. Bulgaria is referred to as the gateway to Europe. How should that be considered from here if a new country is joining something like the Schengen Agreement? Actually, how to shore up these border crossings in order that they can't be exploited?
Well, of course, Russian agencies are seeking for new vulnerabilities, and especially on the continent, because it is now a problem for Russian spies how to get into Europe. And that is why there are new restrictions, for instance, that Russian spies who get a posting in one European country cannot travel to another. Of course, it's a problem for Russian agencies. They're trying to bypass these restrictions using nationals with no Russian passports, and trying to apply more pressure on the system as a whole to make it crack.
When we consider what the UK's approach is to trying to curb illegal immigration, the slogan that's used by this government is "smash the gangs." Presumably, Andrei, in your analysis, this would be a lot harder to do if these gangs are being, well, at least partly fueled by Russia and Russian spies.
Well, the problem here is that we already have a story of Russian agencies working together with criminal gangs, for instance, for organizing low-level sabotage attacks. Apparently, on the surface, these attacks didn't cause any casualties, but nevertheless, even if you recruit someone using social media and you pay these people to do something on your street, it diverts resources from the police forces, and it already serves the purpose of Russian agencies. So there is this experience, and Russian agencies know how to do that.
Yeah. How extensive do you think this operation is? How many spies are we talking about?
It's very difficult to say, because since 2022, Russian agencies changed their tactics, because there were mass expulsions of diplomats, and now they rely on people with no diplomatic cover. As I said, sometimes these people are not Russian nationals, and that means that it's really difficult to understand how many people we are talking about here.
Yeah. And do we assume that this is a direct Kremlin initiative? Is this Vladimir Putin directly instructing this particular kind of operation?
I would say that after the annexation of Crimea in 2014, it became very clear that Russian agencies don't have any kind of independence from the Kremlin, that most of sensitive operations are sanctioned directly and personally by Vladimir Putin.
Yeah. Really interesting speaking to you, Andrei. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
That is Andrei Soldatov, who is a Russian investigative journalist and co-author of the book Our Dear Friends in Moscow. Read Matt Dathan's reporting on this. It's on the front page of The Times. There is a comment also from Yvette Cooper, the Foreign Secretary, saying that these revelations expose the threats posed by hostile states such as Russia. Here's the quote: "It's clear that illegal migration into Europe and beyond is being driven not just by organised crime networks seeking to make a profit, but by hostile state actors seeking to destabilise Europe. That threat is real, growing and very serious." You tend to think it makes tackling it quite tricky, because you have to then navigate the diplomatic side of things rather than just the sort of surface level immigration considerations. Suddenly dealing with Russia in all of its various war contexts comes into play as well.
It also means that the deterrent that the government is talking about, which at the moment is this one in, one out agreement with France, it becomes even more important, because lots of people assume that the idea of the deterrent is meant to dissuade people who, for personal reasons, want to cross the channel. But if you've got organised gangs pursuing this as an economic reality, which is what is actually happening on the ground. It has to be 100% effective in order to work. And if what we're talking about, as we know at the moment, is 42 people returned to France in the same period of time, 5,700, I think, have arrived here on small boats. You can see those numbers mean that you would still keep pursuing that as an avenue if you were making money out of it, or if you were seeking to destabilise. It's not necessarily just about the money. So, yeah, some big questions for the government too, as you heard there. And Yvette Cooper made some comments on Matt Dathan's reporting. You can have a look now on thetimes.com if you've not had a read.